Twitch channel / Adobe. My name is Terry White. I'm the worldwide design and photography evangelist for Adobe, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Introduction to Photoshop CC. This is a 5-week learning stream twice a week. So Tuesdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for an hour. And we did part 1 and 2 last week. You can catch the video on demand for that at twitch.tv/Adobe/profile, or they're on my YouTube channel as well at terrywhite.tv. So let me make this official by turning on the official Creative Cloud Learning Stream lower third. And I want to welcome you all here. And again, if you are watching the video on demand, this is live on Tuesdays and Fridays at 11 a.m. That means that you can join us and ask questions, and we'll see you in the chat. Speaking of which, you'll see me from time to time. If you are watching this video afterwards, I'll look over and say hello to people in my chat room. And all the moderators are here and everyone's here. A lot of people are still hanging out from the last stream that I did from 10 to 11. So with that said, without further ado, what are we going to do today? Today, so let me go over parts 1 and 2 real quick. So part 1 was just getting around in the interface, learning where things are in Photoshop. Part 2 was making selections. And again, these are only an hour, and I could spend all day on any one of these topics. But the second part was making selections. Part 3, which is right now, is the 10 most used tools in Photoshop. Now, you may differ. You may think, well, I don't use that tool, or I use this one instead of that one, or I use this one more. That's okay. But these are the 10 most used tools by most people, not everyone. So it's okay if you use something different or you don't use some of these tools. But I'm going to guess, because these are the 10 most used ones, that many of these are going to be ones that you guys use on a regular basis. So with that said, thanks for joining me once again. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to switch over to my monitor, but let me close a couple things that I had open for the last group. We're going to start fresh. And I'm going to close the elegant dress. I'm going to switch back to my essentials workspace. Okay. All right, let's show you guys what we're going to be doing here. There we are. And you should now be able to see my desktop. And from here, we're going to go ahead and talk about the 10 most used tools. And this is not in any particular ranking order, meaning like this isn't tool number 1 the most used, or the 10th used tool up to the first most used tool. It's just 10 tools, just me quickly looking at the tool panel and saying, okay, most people are using this, most people are using that, so forth and so on. All right. So in order to show you these, I should probably have an image open. So let's go ahead and grab something that we haven't used yet. I'm going to switch back over to my other library here. All right, let's see what we got here. We used one, trying to keep it fresh, trying not to use an image we've already used. Let's use this one. All right, got a nice panorama lighthouse here. Now, if you're new to Photoshop, then chances are your tools and panels are wherever you last left them, unless you just download it and open up Photoshop for the first time today. So what I'm going to do to kind of reset things back to the way they would normally be from scratch is I'm in the Essentials workspace. That's the one that Photoshop defaults to. I usually use one called Terry White, which is the one I've customized. But I'm going to go ahead and just say Reset Essentials, which will kind of put everything as far back to its beginning point as it can be. So I'm going to start off on the Essentials workspace, so that way things are should be in the order that I'm about to use them in. I don't know that I can reset. I can't reset them all. So one of these I know I got to change. Okay. All right. So first and foremost is Move tool. Move tool is hands down one of, if not the most used tool in Photoshop, because if you're working with two or more objects, chances are you're going to have to move them around at some point. So in the last segment, we were working with type. And every time I wanted to move the type to a different location, I instinctively switched to the move tool because that's the way you move things. So whether you're moving a photo, whether you're moving an object, a graphic element, whether you're moving a piece of text, whatever it is, the move tool is what you're going to do to move it around from one to the other. The move tool is also the tool you're going to use to move things from one document to another. So let me give you some examples. Let's go grab my text tool. I'm just going to click, which is also one of the most used tools. Let's do Lighthouse. And let's just get a different color here so it stands out better. All right, we got our lighthouse, and once I say OK or click the check mark, that becomes an object. It becomes a layer on the what's this layer? All right, we got an extra layer there. It becomes a layer on this document, and what I want to do now, if I want to move it around, I can't do that effectively or easily from the type tool anymore. So I just switch back to the move tool. The move tool is on the keyboard. It's the letter V as in Victor, and you can click the layer, move it around, and move it any way you want. Now there is one aspect to the move tool I used to use all the time, and now I don't use it as much as I used to. The move tool has a setting called auto select. It's this checkbox right here. Auto select, I think, is now off by default, but let me show you what it does. Let's say I have two lighthouses. I'm going to duplicate the layer. And I'm going to move another one over here. Okay, so notice what happened. I duplicated the layer and I just started moving with the move tool. How did it know which one to move? And and by the way, because you wouldn't know which one's which either unless I change it. So let's call this red. Don't worry, I'm going to change the font. Don't be offended. Hang on. Let's call it red. And let's actually make it red. All right, so now we got our red and we got our lighthouse. So we got two different layers. Now we're going to use the move tool. And notice every time I grab the move tool, it's moving the word red. How come it's not moving lighthouse anymore? Well, that's pretty easy to figure out because red is the layer that's selected. If I switch to lighthouse, even if I'm not touching it, I start moving it around, that's the one that's moving because it by default is going to move the entire layer no matter where you drag. I don't have to click on the word lighthouse. I don't have to click on the word red to move it. As long as that layer is selected, if I switch back to red and I start dragging lighthouse, red's moving because that layer is selected. So if you've ever wondered why something's moving even though you're not touching it, it's because by default it's moving that layer. It doesn't matter where you click on that layer to move it. Now, what does auto select do? Auto select is for people like I said, I used to love it. I don't know why I don't like it as much as I used to, but it was for people that were frustrated by that because you're used to clicking on something and moving it as opposed to having to remember which layer it's on to click on it to move it. So what auto select does, right now I'm on the red layer, but if I click on the word lighthouse, look what happens. It's moving lighthouse because that's what I clicked on. If I click on the word red and move red, now it's moving red. And that used to be the first thing I would always do is because I wanted it to move whatever I selected. I don't know why I don't like that anymore, but now for the most part I have it off and I control what's getting moved by what layer. And it might be because what becomes difficult with the auto select is when things are overlapping each other and you're trying to click on something in between, or it's got a lower opacity, not that low. It's got a lower opacity and the move tool is being confused. It's clicking through it. In other words, it's still on top, but it actually looks like it's behind it because red is such a lower opacity. So sometimes it'll do the wrong thing. I can't make it do it now, but sometimes it'll do actually I am making it do it now. I'm trying to get to lighthouse and red's on top and it's like, how come it's not moving lighthouse? Because technically red's on top. I grab lighthouse, then lighthouse is moving. So That's your choice to turn auto select on or off, but the move tool is just that. I'm going to show you one more attribute of the move tool, and that is we're going to open up a second document. And let's say I want to combine these two together with the move tool. I want to put her on the Lighthouse document. Whether you have auto select on or off, it doesn't matter. But here's the way you move from one to another. We're used to Photoshop back in the day. I just saved a life. Well, I'm glad I could help. Will I talk about smart objects? I will on the smart object day, not today. I know you're anxious. By the way, every time I mention it, people are like, what smart objects? How do I use that? And I know you're anxious to learn it, but I'm trying to keep these segmented to specific topics. We're going to do a whole thing on smart objects, so that way I'm saving it for that day. So be patient. I know you want to learn it right now, but you got to wait. Or go watch a YouTube video, but you got to wait for it for this. Yeah, it can cause frustration if you got it toggled on. I totally agree. All right, just making sure I don't miss anything else. How can you reset the entire program, not just the workspace? I believe if you go to your, there's a reset all your preferences by holding down like 3 or 4 keys when you're booting up Photoshop. It'll ask you if you want to remove the preference, delete the preferences or not. I think it's Command, Option, Alt, Shift, all of the keys together. Launch Photoshop with all those keys held down. Dialog box asking, do you want to delete your preferences? If you say yes, that should put Photoshop pretty much back to the beginning. I'm turning it off immediately when I start up Photoshop. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad you guys got a lot out of that. Okay, one last thing on the move tool, because we've got 9 more tools to get through. If you want to move from one document to the other, and what I was about to say is back in the day, we were used to doing it this way. We were used to the windows being next to each other. So like tiled, in this case, vertically. So it would be easy. Oh, grab her, move her over here. Great, no problem. Easy. But you don't have to tile the windows just to move something from one to the other. I'm going to put them back. If you are in a situation like this where you're tabbed and you got the one tab with the background, you got the other tab with the person or thing you want to move, here's what you do, and this will always throw people off. So I'm going to do it the wrong way first. The wrong way would be you grab the thing you're move and nothing's happening, but that's okay. Keep holding down your mouse button and go up to the tab with the background and people think, oh, when I see the background, I'm good, let go. And nothing happens. And they think it just doesn't work because you let go too soon. So let me go back. The first problem is when you start moving, you don't see anything happening. I'm dragging her. She's not moving around because she's on a locked background. If it were a layer, it would be moving. But if I go up to that tab, as soon as it switches to the document I want, don't let go yet. Drag down into the document. Anywhere into the document, you can now let go. And that will bring her over. So that's the super quick, easy, hidden gem for using the move tool to copy something from one document to another, even if you don't have them tiled vertically side by side. And of course, once she's here, you're using the move tool and you can move her around because she is a layer. And because I don't have auto select, if I click on this other stuff, nothing happens. She keeps moving around because she's the layer that's currently selected. If I go back to red, now red's being moved around. Doesn't matter because even if I click on her, red is still being moved around because the red is the layer that's selected. So whatever layer is selected, if you don't have auto select turned on, is the layer that gets moved. So if I scale her down, and move her in place, and see it doesn't really fit well right there. So what I would typically do in a case like this is this, and right click and flip horizontal, and then we end up with something like that, and we grab these 2 layers and then we move them over and we get something like that, and then we cut if we want to, but that's all another day. All right, so that's the move tool. All right, next, the second tool we're going to use. And it's the one that has evolved years and become it's literally one of the probably the top three most used tools. It's the crop tool. Because people are always wanting to crop an image to either recompose it to what they really want to focus on in the photo, or to make it fit a certain size, a certain dimension, a certain whatever, a certain purpose. So those are the or you want to crop out something distracting. Those are the most common uses for the crop tool. So let me find a good crop example here if I've got one. If not, we'll use anything. All right, let's see. These are all stock photos from Adobe Stock. I'm just trying to find something that would crop nicely. Any of these will crop. But none of them actually need cropping. All right. Can use this one. Let's use this one. All right. Okay. Here's a perfect example. I want to use this photo, but it's not Christmas. And yeah, I know there are ways in Photoshop I could remove the tree, but I just care about the monitor. I want to put some text on the monitor. I just don't need the Christmas tree. So first thing that would come to mind would be, instead of spending all that time trying to remove the tree, just crop it out. If you don't need the whole table, crop out the tree. So when we switch to the crop tool in Photoshop CC, by default, we get this. We get handles now. Back in the old days, you would switch to the crop tool and you'd have to drag out what you wanted cropped. Now you get handles automatically. Now for beginners, you'll love this. For people that are back in my day, if you're one of those people, you could simply go back and use classic mode if you like the old crop tool. I love the new one. I would never want to switch back. But it's there for people that are stuck in their ways. Anyway, we've got the handles, and the handles can be pulled from any corner, any side to crop into the image. You'll notice here, this is one of my other favorite new features. Delete crop pixels can be checked or not checked. What I love about not having that checked is I'm doing a non-destructive crop when I have that not checked. So for example, if I pull this in and say, well, we don't want the ornament, maybe to there, we can have half a book. And now how do I tell it I'm done? I've adjusted this the way I want. You tell it you're done by just clicking the check mark or hitting the return or enter key. And now that tree is made, and it feels a lot, even though we got a couple ornaments here, it feels a lot less Christmassy than the tree being on the table. And you can also, of course, crop the other side, and that would kind of screw up the photo. If we want to crop again, sorry, I grabbed the wrong tool. You want to crop again, you can crop again. You can kind of say, well, no one's really going to know if we do that, but it just doesn't look as good. So this is what I mean by having that checkbox turned off. If you made a bad crop and you're kind of saying to yourself, I don't like it now, I wish I had that other part of the window back, you can. So even if you save the file and come back, you can click the crop tool again and you can uncrop. The rest of your image will always be there, provided you save it as a file that supports this mode, like a Photoshop file or a TIFF or whatever, with the layers and everything intact. You will have the option to uncrop. You will have the option to bring back. When you have this checked, then what you're saying is, when I let go and I click OK, delete that other stuff. I never want to see it again. It's gone for good once you save the file. So this is a way to non-destructively crop by having this turned off. All right, for those of you who say, well, I still kind of like being able to choose what I want instead of using the handles, you can. You can click the crop tool and drag out your crop. You can say, hey, I just want the computer. And then that becomes your crop. And when you click OK, that's your crop. You don't have to live with the handles. You can drag out just the area you want. Okay, so let's undo that last crop. And now let's talk ratios. When you want to crop to a specific size, that's when you want to use that ratio box in the upper left-hand corner. Right now, I'm just cropping visually. I'm cropping to what I like about the photo or what I like in the photo, or trying to crop out things I don't want in the photo, and that's fine. I do that all the time. But sometimes I need something to fit a specific size. That's when I use the crop ratio. So when I use the crop ratio, you can specify the aspect ratio that you want this photo to be. So for example, let's say I wanted to put this in a video. Well, videos are 16 by 9. So if I do 16 by 9 aspect ratio, and again, it has no choice but to return me to the original crop. Now it will not let me drag this to stretch. In other words, it's going to be a 16 by 9 crop no matter what. So when I say okay, that's the perfect frame size for a video now. So whether it's 720p, 1080p, whatever, it's 16 by 9. That would fit perfectly. So that's the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. So let's undo that one more time. Now, a lot of times you want, and by the ratio that's already there, so it just went to the default. But a lot of times you might want to specify a specific size. For example, my blog is, the images on my blog at terrywhite.com, because of the design of the page, can't be any wider than 650 pixels. That's the longest dimension width that I can have. I don't care about the height. It can be as tall as it wants to be because the page will just scroll down. But for the width, it has to be 650. So what I can do is for the width, height, and resolution, which is next to ratio, I can say, well, make it 650. And by the way, I want to, thought there was a way to lock that. Hang on. Dun, 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 dun. I may be doing this differently. Hang on, hold on. I'll do it this way because I want to be able to crop it. I mean, lock it. I want it to be 650, but it will pick the size. So we won't do that with crop. But I could specify 650 by whatever, 400 pixels. And now that will crop a good size crop for my blog post. I can still make the window as big as I want, but it will keep the aspect ratio to 650 by 72, meaning it'll scale the image down or up based on what I do. All right, that's the width, height, and resolution if you're trying to get a specific size that you need. Maybe I want a 5 by 7 for a print, and I want that 5 by 7 to be whatever I want. And by the way, you can rotate the image if you want. You can rotate the image in the crop. I don't want to do that, but I could. So we're going to not do that. Rotate while you're cropping. All right. There was one more thing I wanted to do. You can also make presets. So if you type in something, for example, I typed in the width height aspect ratio, 650 by 400 pixels at 72 pixels per inch. I could say, you know what? I'm going to use that all the time. Let's make that a new crop preset called blog post. So now, anytime I want to crop an image to fit my blog post, I just go to that preset, blog post, and now I can crop to my heart's content, and the end result will always be 650 by 400, whatever height I want, but in this case, 650 by 400. Okay, so that's, and by the way, I did that for Facebook. Facebook has a specific size for your cover image. It's at 851 pixels by 315. Don't ask me why. It's 851 15. So I just made a preset because I never remember those numbers except for now that I've had to teach it so many times I do remember it. So this would always make a Facebook cover photo that is the exact width and height to fit perfectly on a Facebook cover. So if I do that, that will fit perfectly across a Facebook cover with no white space, no stretching, nothing weird. That would be the preset. So you can do presets that you save and use those 1 pixel off, Zuckerberg. Am I 1 pixel off? I thought it was 851 by 315. I think that's it. All right. 2 more things before we leave cropping. Let's undo that one more time. And let's go back to just ratio and clear it. All right, so now we're back to free cropping. You can bring up grids. So I can say, give me a rule of thirds. So that way I'm cropping. And I always have the rule of thirds, which is designed to put your most interesting things at the intersections of the grid. So if you want the focus of someone's eye to be on a specific spot, you want the intersections to be where you want their eye to focus. It will just do that. Their eyes just do that naturally. So if I want the computer screen to be the focus, I would put that at the intersection of the grid, so that way that becomes the focus of the photo. It's a composition trick. So now that becomes the focus of the photo. The rest is kind of just off to the side. All right, so rule of thirds, and there are other choices there, diagonal, triangle, golden, whatever you want. All right, last but not least, and we got to hustle on. I'm already 30 minutes into this, and we still got 8 more tools to go. So undo it one more time. There is a straighten feature. So for example, we used to use the crop tool this way. You would click on your image, and you would kind of straighten it just by, when you start rotating it with this kind of grid, that will straighten your photo. So let's say I do it this way. We're going to make the photo crooked on purpose. All right, so let's say that was your photo, and you want it to straighten it. So instead of having to grab the crop and kind of manually look at the lines and make sure it's straight, there's a straighten tool. Just so much easier. You grab the straighten tool. What it's asking you to do is draw a line across the photo of what would be straight or should be straight. So for example, this line in the wood should be straight. It's not, it's crooked. So if I just draw a line along that line and let go, it will straighten the photo for me. So that way I end up with a perfectly mathematically straight photo if I just draw the line on something that should be straight. So for example, look out the window. See how the snow's going down the hill? If that was supposed to be the straight part of the photo, then I would just do this. It's not, but this will be the example. So now that hill is perfectly straight. Everything else is crooked, but that would be the way to do it. Okay, there is, I want to point out there's one more feature real quick, because we got to hustle. There's the perspective crop tool. And I don't even, here, I'll have to find an image real quick. Very quick, hold on. Because this is a feature I used to use all the time, and then it disappeared. Well, it didn't really disappear, it just got moved. It used to be in the crop tool itself as a checkbox. And now it's been moved out to its own tool. So let me find it. I have a perfect image to show it on. Here we go. So this image is not only crooked, the perspective of the door and the building is off. So what I can do is grab the next tool under it, which is the perspective crop tool. And what I can do is I can draw lines on what should be the proper perspective. So I click here, drag out, click here, drag out, click here, drag out, and here. That would be the right perspective if this were straight. I let go and click OK. It straightens the photo to that. So now that's perfectly straight. And of course I could have mowed it, I didn't want to crop into it, I could have just pulled it all the way out. But that will fix not only the straightening, but also the perspective of the whole shot. So it tilts the photo, straightens it out, and makes the perspective straight on. All right, we gotta go. Okay, quick select, tool number 3. It's just a fast tool for making selections. Let me see what we can do this on real quick. Let's undo that. Let's put that back. So quick select kind of replaces what we used to use the magic wand for a lot, because quick select's so much better. So what quick select is by name. It allows you to quickly select things. Notice I didn't call it accurate select. It is called Quick Select for a reason. So what Quick Select allows me to do is just simply drag over an object that I want to select. I let go, and you can say, oh, well, Terry, grab more than the cup on the right-hand side. No problem. On your Option or Alt key and subtract. Or it should not have grabbed that part in the middle of the cup, under the handle, I mean. So no problem. Make your brush smaller using your bracket keys, and hold down your Option key again and subtract this part in the middle. So we went over this last week when we had our selection thing, our topic, but this is one of the fastest, easiest ways to make your initial selection. And you can keep refining it because it keeps getting smarter. So as you go around and you fix things, it will keep getting better and better. So same thing over here. If I want to also select this package, it adds it onto it, and I can hold down my Option or Alt key, and I can now say subtract from it. So Quick Select, tool number 3, most used tool. I use it all the time. It may not be my final selection, but it's certainly the way I start most selections. All right, number 4, spot healing brush. Oh yeah, this is perfect. All right, I'm going to deselect. And the spot healing brush is this tool right here. So the spot healing brush and healing brush. What's the difference? Spot healing brush is the one I use. Healing brush is the one I don't use as much. No, what's the difference? Spot healing brush is more automated. Healing brush means you pick a source first. So here's the difference. With spot healing brush, and here. All right, with spot healing brush, I can go in, I can find something that needs to be fixed, like these little white spots in the windowsill here. I can just paint over them, and it will use the surrounding pixels to fix them. So that's why I use this tool all the time. I'm using it to repair photos, get rid of dust, get rid of scratches on photos all the time. So what's the difference between that and the one I don't use as much? The healing brush tool, instead of just painting and it automatically doing it, you use it like the clone stamp. You hold down your Option or Alt key and you click a spot first, and you say, okay, that's where I want you to pick up from. And then that's what it's going to use to heal everywhere you go. It's going to use that spot. Now that might be good in an area where the surrounding pixels aren't good. So you need to get something further away that's good that it can use to fix the spot with. To me, it's just more work for most things I do, so I just don't do it because it just takes longer. Unless I'm in a situation where I need it, because what I need to repair isn't working so good. All right. So that's number 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5, the patch tool. And let me see if I've got a good example here. You know what? I know where a good example is. Let's go get one. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Let's see if I've got it in here. If not, I'll just use anything. All right, I had a photo that I love showing this with. The problem is, where is it? Nope, I don't see it. Okay. All right, let's see. If I search for it, let's see if it finds the other one. Yep, here it is. Okay. I found it doing a find. How unique. All right, here we go. Good, good, good. And we'll grab that one. Okay, so what the... And that one's already fixed, so we want the other one. Hang on. What the patch tool allows me to do... There we go. It allows me to patch or fix bigger areas of a photo. So in this case, for example, I shot this photo a couple years ago, and when I was clicking in the camera, wasn't paying attention, I didn't notice her necklace needed to be turned so we don't see the clasp until it was too late. And I'm looking at the photo, I'm like, oh crud. You know, I should have taken 2 seconds, had her turn it. Too late. So the patch tool is located underneath the healing brushes. And the way it works is you make a selection of any kind you want. So you can either make a selection with another tool or make a selection with this tool. Here, we'll zoom in a little bit. And we're just going to go ahead and make a selection like so. I'm just saying this is the area of the photo that is bad. That area right there. Now, the thing I love about the patch tool is it gives you a preview as you're using it. Now, the patch tool has 2 modes, normal and content aware. Content aware is more precise, but it's very precise, meaning it will make it look like you did a patch. Normal blends in better. So I use them both. It just depends on what I'm trying to do. In this case, normal is probably going to be the better result. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag. And what I mean by the preview, see what it's doing? It's letting me see wherever I drag this, what I'm going to get in that area when I let go. So if I let go on her mold, that's what I would get. But if I let go down further in the jewelry, and I'm good at it, then I will get a nice little on the jewelry. And I can see a little more that needs to be cleaned up, but zoomed out, you would never know. You would never know I did that because it looks just like it does over here. So the patch tool is my number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 most used tool inside of Photoshop. All right. And I use it all the time. Every day I'm using Photoshop and using the patch tool. Content aware is too aggressive for me. It depends on what you're trying to do. Sometimes I need it to be that aggressive. The brush tool. The brush tool is used throughout Photoshop. So the brush tool could be used for changing the color of something. The brush tool can be used to use a mask to hide or add something. The brush tool can be used for lots of different things. It could be used to just stamp a logo right on a photo. So the brush tool has a lot of uses. One of the uses for the brush tool, like I said, I'm trying to pull this down, is to change color. So for example, if I switch to a different color, let's do a red, and I switch my blending mode, which we're going to get into when we do the whole thing on layers. Oh, hang on, I got to switch this to a layer. Switch my blending mode to color, for example. Then what I could do with the brush is, oh, sorry. New layer, blending mode, color. Is I could actually literally change the color of her lips without it looking like just red flat paint, because I'm in a color blending mode and it's blending that color in. I think that's probably not her color. It's probably not a color she would appreciate, but just showing how the paintbrush works. And of course there are hundreds if not thousands of different brushes you can use, wet media brushes. There's different brushes in and of themselves. There's the what's the brush you use all the time, Victoria? You can type it in. I'm drawing a blank on the name. But these brushes are for just that. They're just for painting. They're for all kinds of techniques inside Photoshop. I don't usually use it for painting like I'm doing now as much as I use it for masking. But that's what the paintbrush is. Now, of course, that's a little strong of a color. But now we can go in and we can play with things like the opacity. So we can pull that down a little bit. Pull that back just a little bit more. And go down. This is why I'm not a makeup artist. No one's going to pay me to do their makeup. If we pull that down a little bit, see how we can vary the color of it just by the opacity. So, paintbrush is used a lot in Photoshop throughout. Mixer brush tool. Thank you, Victoria. That's the one I was thinking of. I couldn't think of the name. So there's a mixer brush tool that literally gives you a painted. Victoria's the expert on it. You guys should go watch her videos on the mixer brush. All right, clone stamp. Clone stamp is one of my all-time favorite tools from day one of Photoshop. And what the clone stamp tool allows you to do is, like the name implies, it allows you to clone things, to duplicate things from one part of the photo to the next. So for example, I don't really see anything that I want to clone here, but let's go ahead and make a new layer. And now what I'm going to do is go to the clone stamp tool, which is the letter S on the keyboard for stamp. And I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to use an option that even though I'm on the new layer where I want to clone, I'm going to say that it can sample all layers. So in other words, I can pick something that's on a different layer to clone to the new layer. So the way the clone works is you can go in and you can hold down your Alt key where you want it to pick up from. So I wanted to pick up her charm, her love charm here. So I'm just going to hold down the Option or Alt key and click. Now I can move anywhere else, and that's what it will start cloning. So as I can see the little crosshairs there of what I'm picking up, and I can now clone a whole new charm. And because I have a new layer selected, which we're going to do a whole thing on layers, don't worry, a whole new layer selected, and go in and clone that to its own layer all by itself. So the clone stamp tool is used for things like this. You don't have to use it for things like this, but that is one of the uses for it. So we'll smooth that out just a little bit. And we'll give it a little bit more of that holder there. Perfect. Okay, now because that's on its own layer, I switch back to the move tool and I can move it around. And I can say that she's got 2 charms now. Rotate that a little bit, and there we go. All right, I need to clean up the shadow, but you get the idea. So that's what the clone stamp tool is for. And the clone stamp tool is number 7. Number 8 is the zoom tool. The zoom tool, we use it all the time because we want to zoom in where we can work on things more closely in more detail. Like if you're trying to paint her lips, I need to be closer to see that I'm not going over the edge. So the zoom tool is used. We use this, we talked about this in day 1 of part 1 of our intro to Photoshop. But you tap the zoom or hit the letter Z and you can either click, it'll zoom in one at a time, or my favorite way is to drag. That way I can drag in or out to get to a specific spot of the photo. Drag in or out, and that way whatever I'm pointing at, I can drag in or out of the photo to get to it quickly. So that is the zoom tool. We use it all the time. Now, I'm going to show you guys a gem or secret shortcut here. Let's say I want to, I'll go back to the background, and I want to get rid of this little spot, which is not a mole. I'm on the spot healing brush, but I need to zoom in to do it better. So if I hold down the letter Z, don't tap the Z, but hold it down. I temporarily get the zoom tool to zoom in, and when I let go of the Z, I'm back to the spot healing brush. So this way you can be on another tool and zoom in without having to leave the tool you were on the first time. So Z to zoom out, let go of the Z, I'm back to the spot healing brush. I'm back to the tool that I was already on. So the zoom tool works that way and is perfect for things like that. And same thing with the number 9 tool, which is the hand tool. So for example, let's say I hold down the letter Z and I zoom in, but I'm in the wrong spot. I want to see more of her hair on the left-hand side. So I hold down the space bar, which is the hand tool, and I can pan around. I can move the image around, get to whatever spot I need to get to, and take care of this little blemish right here with the spot healing brush that I never left. I never left that tool, and hold down the space bar again, and I'm panning around space bar when I'm ready to use the tool. Space bar, hand tool, let go, space bar, hand tool, let go, and I can keep using the tool. So number 8, the zoom tool, number 9, the hand tool, they work hand in hand. Pardon the pun. Last but not least, number 10 is where we originated from for this episode, where we left off on the last episode, which was the text tool. The text tool is the number 1 most used tool in Photoshop. Believe it or not, people are using Photoshop more and more to add text to a photo. They don't need to change the photo. They just want to put some text on it. And as a treat, since I've got a few extra minutes here, I'm going to give you guys a technique that, hang on, let's see. Let's see if I can find a good photo to do this with. Hold on, let's see. Nope, I didn't call it that. All right, I was going to use a photo that I've done before, but I can't think of where it is. All right, so in the meantime, it's probably in Lightroom, but I'm not going to dig it out right now. I'm going to, well, you know what? Just for the sake of fun, we got a minute here. Let me do something that you guys can't see real quick. Let me go find this photo. If I find it, I'll open it, and you'll get right back to it. I think I know where it is. Talk amongst yourselves while I'm looking. If I don't find it, then no love lost. But I think it's in here. Nope. Nope. Oh, darn. Oh, well. Maybe I'll show it next time. It was a really funny picture, though. Not there, not there. Nope, I don't find it. Okay. All right, didn't find it, so sorry about that. I know I built you up for something that I don't get a chance to show you, but oh well. Talks with self, yes. And now I can't switch back. Come on. There we go. Okay, so here, the type tool. Let's do this real quick. We will still have fun with it, but we just won't be able to show it on the picture I was going to show it on. So when you grab the type tool and you click anywhere on your canvas, it will remember whatever last settings you were on. So when I grab the type tool, this is the font it's going to be in, this is the color it's going to be in, this is the size it's going to be. And so I can go in and I can say things like, let's click here. All right, so obviously I'm typing something that's way too big in point size to fit on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and select it. Command A, Control A on Windows. And this sizer, you can go in and of course choose a size. So I can get it down real small, and that's way too small. And I can sit here guessing, or I can just use the what we call scrubby slider. So when you hover over the two T's, this will allow you to scrub right or left to make it bigger or smaller visually. So I want that to be a little smaller, maybe like that. Okay, and then we're going to do another one down here. I'm just going to click the type tool. I always get love. I don't know what I'm typing. I'm just typing stuff. Okay, so now that I've got this text, I kind of want to format it to look differently. And we went over the whole, see, I'm moving this layer because that layer selected, even though I clicked on Win. You got to remember to click on that layer to move that layer. All right, so when you want to move your layer, you can. When you want to type your type, you grab the type tool. But I want to style this type different. And I'm going to give you guys the secret to styling type like a meme. Whenever you see those funny pictures on social media, that usually has a celebrity saying something they never said. When you have those, they use a specific method to make it look like that. That's why the type seems to look consistent. So let me give you that secret real quick. We're going to grab our type tool. We're going to change the font. There's a font called Impact. You probably already have it installed. And to get Impact, I got to get into all classes. Hang on. And I don't already have it installed. How do I not have oh, because it's not Typekit. There we go. Impact Regular. And it is always, 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 for a meme, it's all caps and it's always white. Okay? And the kerning or word space, letter spacing is normal. So let's put it back to normal. Okay. There's one more thing they do to the meme to make it look like it looks on all the photos. They give it an outline. So to do that, we're just going to go to our effects panel and we're going to go to out or stroke, I should call it. We're going to go to stroke and we're going to say that the stroke is black and 4 pixels is fine. You can do, it's usually 3 to 5 pixels. 5 pixels. There we go. And starting to look familiar, like all the memes we see on the internet now. So it is impact, white, whatever size you want, black, stroke, 3 to 5 pixels. Now, I don't want to have to keep remembering that every single time. So there are 2 things I've done to make that easier. When I switch over to my a library that I want to use, in this case the Twitch library, I can add the style of that text as a style. So I just click the letter A to add that as a character style and it says impact. I can rename that to whatever I want. I can rename that to meme style. All right, but it doesn't add the stroke because the stroke is technically a different effect. So I add the effect also. And now it adds the effect when I wear, that's what it named it. It doesn't know any better. So we're going to name it meme stroke. So now that I've got both of those in my library, I don't ever have to create those from scratch again. So when I switch to the other text, all I got to do, dang it, one more thing. Oh no, I did it, never mind. Meme style, meme stroke. There you go. And now we would just center it. So now you've learned how to create a meme using Photoshop, in this case, working with impact font, white text, black stroke, 3 to 5 pixels. And if you save it as a style in your library, you can just quickly format the text without having to do it manually every time, each time. And those are the 10 tools that people use the most in Photoshop. So a quick recap. The move tool, which we've been using throughout. I've just moved that text to where I wanted it to be. The crop tool, which we crop things all the time. We learn various ways to crop. The quick select tool for quickly selecting things that we want to either duplicate, modify, paint, change, whatever. The spot healing brush for making quick edits or changes using the surrounding pixels, getting rid of blemishes, trash on a field, pretty much scratches, dust, anything in a photo you want to remove. The patch tool for doing bigger patches, like we duplicated her necklace onto its own layer using did we use patch for that? No, we use clone stamp for that. For patch tool, we use it on the necklace clasp, and brush for just painting or changing the color of something. And there's a color replacement tool, by the way. Clone stamp tool, that's how we got the second necklace. The zoom tool and the hand tool, zooming in and panning around. And last but not least, the text tool. So those are the 10 most used tools in Photoshop CC today. So hope you learned something. We're going to do, I got like 4 minutes left. We're going to do more on Friday, same time, same channel. We're going to, I don't know what Friday's topic is. Let me see. Friday is going to be working with layers and masks. So we're going to learn more about layering, learn more about masks, adjustment layers, all the various ins and outs of layers and layer styles and layer. So it's going to be a layer day on Friday. And next up, I believe, is Molten Ink. Molten Ink is going to be our next streamer here on the Adobe channel. And I'm just trying to think, what can I show you guys in the 10 tools in the last 3 minutes we have left here. So let's see if I want to expound upon anything. I can expound upon one thing. Let's go back to the original thing here where we start. Let's go to the clone stamp tool. And when you're using the clone stamp, there is an extra panel you can use optionally. It's called the clone source. And what the clone source allows you to do is it allows you to see a lot of different options while you're using the clone. And is it let you save more than one source. Remember how you have to hold down the Option or Alt key to click everywhere, and if you want to change to a different spot, you have to hold down the Option key and click again, but then you lost your first spot? Well, this lets me have up to 5 different clone sources if I use the clone source tool. The other thing the clone source tool allows me to do, even though I'm not seeing the option for it, turn off the overlay or not. This is big. So for example, if I have the clone stamp tool selected, and see what it's doing? See how it's showing me what I'm going to get when I start using it? That's because it remembered that source and it's showing me that overlay. So if I hold down my Option or Alt key and I click on this necklace, now when I move over, it's showing me the necklace everywhere I go. And that's a feature or a hindrance, depending on how you like to work. That's, for me, it's a good thing most of the times because I can see what I'm going to get when I start. But if you don't like that overlay, just turn it off. And you won't see it until you start painting. Now when I start painting, oh, I'm sorry, I clicked Option by mistake. When I start painting, I'm going to get it, but I won't see it until I start painting with it. So you can show your overlay or not. Also, last but not least, in the clone stamp tool in my last 60 seconds, you can turn on or off aligned. So when a line is turned off, for example, if I choose this as my source, when I start painting over here, I get it. When I start painting over here, I get it. I get the same source no matter where I am. With aligned, it will keep the ratio from where you click to where you start painting. As you move, it will keep it aligned. So if you pick a new spot, it'll keep that aligned as well. So last couple of quick tips on using the clone stamp tool for the clone source panel and whether or not you keep things aligned or not. All right, that's it. That's my time. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one, which is Friday, 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Cheers, guys, and welcome Molten Ink, who's up right now. Take care. Thanks all. I know, I'm still trying to. I click stop broadcasting. I'm getting a spinning wheel. It's thinking about it. It'll stop any second now while I'm still live. Hey, everybody. That awkward moment, yes. Sorry, Molten Ink. I'm trying to stop.